Rocket Fist! Wow! Wow!
Gotcha. Hello, viewers of the internet. Welcome back to another episode of Link's Awakening for the Nintendo Switch. I'm here again with my friend Lyle.
Hello.
And we're going to do something a little bonus this time. For just for some context, this episode is planned to come out a few days after recording. So if you're watching this, which will be Friday, we have recorded this last Tuesday. So one thing you'll notice if you've watched the last episode of Link's Awakening that came out, which was episode 5, you'll notice that we have a lot more hearts and a lot more items, and that's because we've actually played through a majority of the game so far. Don't panic, you haven't missed any episodes. We're not skipping through anything. The reason why we're doing this is because we're going to tackle a mini game, which I was never sure if we were going to tackle, mostly because I'm not a huge fan of it. But, oh, there's a telephone. But, one thing we're going to do is we're going to play the minigame while discussing something that has recently, as of the time of this recording, just happened. And that thing is E3. So anyways, we're here at Dompe's shack, and just as another context too, I'm probably going to put this on my own YouTube channel just without the visual, so it's there too if you just want to hear the audio and you don't want to see us play this. The whole reason we're going to do this is because we can kind of turn off our brains. There's nothing going to be too strict, and it's kind of boring anyway, so at least it'll keep me from falling asleep. So I like to keep this until near the end of the game anyways, because I have more options for the Dungeon Maker, as you'll see. So if you hear random noises and button pressing, if you're watching this on my channel, we're just playing Link's Awakening while we do this. So first, I'm going to get into Dungeon Maker and kind of explain it a little bit, and then we'll get into the E3 discussion. And just as a bit of a warning, future me, put on a warning siren right here. This is going to be completely Nintendo biased. So, if you don't like Nintendo, aka the other members of Rocket Fist Gaming, you shouldn't have gave me full reins on this E3 discussion. So, it's your own fault. We'll try and not be as much Nintendo bias as possible. Nintendo rules. Who said that? But anyways, we talked to Dompe, and he says, "There you are." He's been standing here this whole time waiting for us. "I want to show you something interesting. You've gone poking into some of the ruins on this island, I can tell. I'll make little chambers based on those dungeons. Put some of the chambers into the slab back there, and it turns into a real dungeon. Here's how it works," you ask. But I want your help testing the limits of this thing. I want to hear about the dungeons you've seen. Inspires me to make new chambers for you. With a few chambers, you can make basic dungeons. With a bunch, you can make complicated ones. See if you can use them. See if you can use what you've got to finish the challenges I give you. Though you are not done once you finish arranging a dungeon, you've got adventures through it. I'm no designer, though I'm no adventurer either. That's all up to you. I'll make the risk worth it. Impress me, and there's some treasure in it for you. Is there a chamber stone you got there? I can make special chambers out of those. Bring them to me when you find them. You look like you've been through a lot. And I'll sit down and tell me about it." So there we go. We got chambers from all the dungeons we've played so far.
Hmm.
Not every single room, but a lot of the rooms will be recognizable. So, we go to arrange. Also, there's amiibo. There's different chambers and stuff we're going to unlock with amiibo. So, we're going to do the first one. Dungeon Arranging 101. I started this one already. Can you finish it? Make a path from the entrance to the Nightmare's lair. There's got to be a stop along the way for the treasure chest. If a chamber's got an exit, you got to connect it to another. Oh, sorry. If it's got an exit, you got to connect it to another exit. Nobody wants an exit that goes nowhere.
Except me.
Yeah, so so basically, yeah, he'll give us challenges with rooms like this that we've got to kind of fill in. So these ones are already put into place. Sometimes it will be an empty square that we need to fill in with a dungeon we already have. That's kind of why I want to leave it to the end, because I think there are some challenges we wouldn't be able to complete too early in the game. Plus, you don't really need to do that. It doesn't give you any sort of benefit that would help earlier in the game. So basically, it's got it all arranged here to our different things. So there's our boss, there's our treasure chest. So here's the thing too. The way it's designed is some dungeon rooms will have stairs and some will have treasure chests. You can't just have one set of stairs. You got to link the stairs if you decide to put stairs in for whatever reason. The other thing is, the treasure chests the last treasure chest you open will have the boss key. So that means you have to open up every treasure chest. So try not to go too crazy with the treasure chests, or else you'll have to explore your entire dungeon to get them all. See, the thing is, and the thing I don't like about this is, you're the only one who plays these. So the mentality is that you have to build them as simple as possible.
Right, but you could have like somebody like me sitting beside you, not watching what you're designing,
True.
And then I could play through it.
True, you could do that. That is completely possible. But like I said, when you're playing it by yourself, you're trying to build them as easy as possible, which kind of defeats the purpose. If there was online sharing, there could be there'd be a stipulation then to build them more interesting and complicated, just to allow an online player a little bit more challenge. But I will say, if they were ever to do a dungeon maker, I would say to do it like this. Do it up to individual rooms like this, rather than like Mario Maker, where you're pretty much building the entire level from scratch. Maybe have a few things in each room that can be modified, but I'd say have it a room by room like the old style Zelda, and just have it that you can place them in different ways. I think that would be pretty cool. But anyways, let's get going. And I'll build a dungeon, and then we'll start with our E3 discussion. So put that there. Yeah, just telling us it's got to be in the last and next. So basically, if we have other locked doors, the treasure chests will be keys. So we need more treasure chests than what we have keys, or at least the same number. So basically, you can't have like 6 locked doors and only 2 treasure chests, because you're not going to have enough to get keys. But you can have less locks for treasure chests. It's just that any of the remaining treasure chests will just be money. Which I do believe we get to keep all the money at the end of the dungeon. We don't get to keep items though. So anyways, here's 3 doors. So the numbers up here correspond to how many doors there are, and then the different styles that there is. So just put a treasure chest in everything. Yeah, so if it's red, it means that there isn't enough connections yet.
So that's the whole grid.
Yep.
of how big the dungeon can basically be?
Yeah, we could fill up the whole grid if we wanted to. But there would be probably not too much of a point. There we go. Now it's blue, meaning we are ready to go. So we can go here and go adventuring. So anyways, I have on my phone, the goal of adventure in dungeons is to get the end and beat the nightmare. Try not to run out of parts before you get there. Yeah. I don't know if the death count counts towards a death count. Like when you're doing this. We can also quit if we want to. If we get sick and tired of it. So the list I have here I don't think is in order. But we'll just talk about a few things. So the first is let's talk about Xbox. Because it's actually, we'll leave the big ones till then. Let's talk about Capcom. So, have you ever played any of the great Ace Attorney games?
I have not.
I have not either. They're a mystery game. Or I shouldn't say. They are kind of a mystery game, but they're like a court game. So you basically play as a lawyer who is trying to,
win a case.
Win a case, basically. And this one, Chronicles, is not going to feature the normal main character because it's set in a little different time frame and setting, I believe. I believe it's in London, and it has a Sherlock Holmes-like character in it. Although you don't play as him, you just play as his partner, basically. So, not much to say about it. The one thing I will say about Capcom's performance is that nothing new was really announced. We already knew about Chronicles. They're doing a remake or remaster, one or the other, of Monster Hunter Rise and Monster Hunter Stories 2. Or maybe they're new games. I don't know anything. Have you played any of the Monster Hunter games either?
Nope.
Me neither. All I know is we knew about those already. There's a Monster Hunter movie, I think, or TV show coming out, which looks kind of cool.
An anime?
No, actually, live action. And it's basically just like army people who are out doing their army thing, and they get transported to a sand planet, and it has like all the monsters, like the big dragon guy you fight in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Oh yeah.
And they're just trying not to die. The whole point of Monster Hunters, I think, is you go out, you fight monsters, you collect their goods after you kill them, and then you can build like better weapons, better armor, sell the stuff and you just keep like upgrading and fighting better and better monsters. It does sound like a really fun idea. But the only other thing that Capcom releases, they're doing DLC for Resident Evil Village, which is essentially Resident Evil 8. Which I heard really good things about. They said it's one of the best Resident Evils since 4. So they're doing some DLC, and I have no idea what that's about. But if you got the game, I say there's no reason not to get the DLC. So that's pretty much for Capcom. Gearbox Studios, they have Godfall, Homeworld 3. Heard of those games?
I don't think so. No.
No, me neither. They have, and this one surprised me. So I looked it up before I got here. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Have you ever heard of Tiny Tina?
Nope.
So what shocked me right away is Tiny Tina is a character in Borderlands.
Oh yeah.
Specifically, Borderlands 2 is where she got all her popularity. So I can actually spend a little bit of time talking about this. Tiny Tina is a Borderlands character and was voted at one time to be the favorite character of the entire series. Because in Borderlands 2, she's a 13-year-old girl who basically her parents were killed by Hyperion, which is basically the big bad company of Borderlands. I'm not paying attention. Her parents were killed for experiments, and she was left abandoned. So the leader of the Crimson Raiders, which was a resistance at the time, Roland, he took her in and gave her a home, and she idolized him, basically. But she, like most of the characters in the game, it left its scars. So she's basically borderline insane, which is kind of the joke, because like Borderlands, like you're basically on this like Mad Max kind of world where everybody are psychos and crazy, and everybody drives like insane metal trucks and stuff like that. And anyways, Tiny Tina is also an explosives expert, and you need her to complete some of the story missions. She's got a story significance. But anyways, one of the DLCs for Borderlands 2 is Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep, which is basically her and the other Vault Hunters from the first game, who are big characters in the second game, are sitting down to play a Dungeons and Dragons like game in their world, which is Bunkers and Badasses. And she's the DM.
Yeah. So
hilarity ensues. We completed the first dungeon. There we go. So anyways, with that DLC, she's kind of been associated with that board game, where in the pre-sequel, which was kind of a sequel to the second game, and even Borderlands 3, where now she's a teenager, she's always associated with loving that game. I was confused at first. I thought maybe because Borderlands 3 is still having DLC come out, I thought maybe it was a new DLC. It's actually a brand new game that's all based off of some sort of magical world that Tiny Tina is going to be a part of. Sounds like she's going to be a main character in it. So instead of Borderlands, right, it's Tiny Tina's Wonderland. And the trailer for it looks pretty cool. You see some wizard guy fighting off a dragon with magical powers and a shotgun, which is just amazing. So it looks pretty cool. All they have is a trailer so far, so we don't have any gameplay. So that was one announcement I don't think was announced prior, so that's kind of cool. That's where E3 shines, is where it shows off new things that we've never heard are coming out.
Is there a real life version of Bonkers and Badasses?
I don't think so.
Some kind of a mod for a Dungeons and Dragons
Maybe.
version?
It would be cool. They kind of poke fun of the game the entire time too.
Yeah.
Because there's a side mission where you're like, pick up, you just find a gun on the ground. It's like, try to pick it up. It's like, oh, we got to roll. And the one guy who's only being forced to play the game, he's like, why do we have to roll to pick up a gun? He says, just pick up the gun. It's like, no, you have to roll. And it's like, oh, you rolled a 1. Your shins are broken. And,
Yeah.
and they're like, how do you miss picking up a gun, and why does it break your shins?
That's D&D.
Yep.
It's a meme.
And I like too, they get to a point, it's like, oh, you're stuck in the trap. You're done forever. And they're like, what? Tina, you can't just put us in a circumstance we can't get out of. It's like, sorry, I didn't think we'd get this far in one session.
Yeah.
I didn't plan this far ahead.
Yeah. I played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons when I was younger. So, I understand the humor and the memes.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3.5 and Pathfinder are awesome.
I like too where right at the beginning of the DLC, you fight a boss, and they're like, you can't put us off against the final boss seconds into the game. And it's like, oh, sorry. So she switches it for a much easier boss. So anyways, what are we doing here? Okay, so see here, we have to put a locked door, and we have to put treasure chests here. So we have to build a dungeon with that, and we start off with an entrance. So we're going to try and put an entrance here, and again, trying to make this as simple as possible. I can't see how many number settings. So good. We're just going to do that. Just one locked door. Doesn't say how many locked doors we need. We just need a tile with one locked door there. And we're going to do this. And this. And then now all we need is a boss, which I always choose the easiest one. There we go. There's our dungeon. Go adventuring. Okay, so the only other thing they announced Gearbox was Tribes of Midgard, which I have no idea what that is. It's a game. What other lower end studios? Ubisoft did Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I've never played an Assassin's Creed.
It's okay.
Yeah, I heard the latest ones lately haven't been too good. I remember when which one was it? The pirate one, Creed.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when it was first announced, a lot of people were excited for it. But it didn't do very good. It wasn't a very good game. I don't think it ran very well either. A lot of people were excited for it because you were basically supposed to live the life of a pirate.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of cool. We didn't have Sea of Thieves at that time. So, but unfortunately it didn't work very well. I don't know, pirate games just are a really cool concept. That's why Sea of Thieves is doing so well.
What's that?
It's a pirate game.
Hmm.
It's an online pirate game too.
Is this Sid Meier?
It's a first-person shooter. I don't know. But, what else? Avatar.
I'm thinking of Sid Meier's Pirates. That's what I'm thinking of.
Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. Far Cry 6.
Yeah, Far Cry 6's trailer was pretty funny. With the gun that shoots CDs that are playing.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, there's like Macarena playing on the one CD, and she just shoots the guy with a couple of CDs, knocks him out,
Nice.
and then he reloads with the CDs as his music
Oh,
stops,
really?
and then it keeps on playing again.
That's awesome. 5 was a really fun game, but a lot of people hated the ending. It was a really terrible ending because there's two scenarios and you basically lose either scenario. The first scenario, basically at the very end of the game, even though you beat the final boss, he still somehow defeats you, and you're given a choice. You either stay or you leave. And if you stay, a nuke goes off and destroys half of the USA, or you leave and you get brainwashed and kill your comrades. So people didn't really like that too much. You know, people don't like being put into a scenario where they can't win. Which is probably why a movie like Avengers Infinity War didn't do well. A lot of people didn't like it at first until they realized it was actually a really good movie, because the heroes do lose in the end. But I'm sure Far Cry, I don't know if Far Cry 6 is going to continue anything from 5. I don't think they really continue from each other, the stories too much.
I've never played a Far Cry game, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think they do, because some are set on tropical islands.
I think this one's 6 is set in Mexico or something.
Okay, 5 was set in the U.S. somewhere.
Yeah.
Inside like a cult area. There's Just Dance 2022, which is the first Just Dance in a very long time that doesn't have a Wii version. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Wii is officially dead. So, I expect flags at half-mast and everybody to wear black. So, they were literally still making it for the Wii, just for old folks' homes.
Oh, wow.
Because old folks' homes still use the Wii, and they love using the dance simulators, because it's really good exercise for the old folks.
one thing the Wii did pretty good.
Yes.
Wii
Yeah.
Sports.
Its motion controls were actually really good. Or I shouldn't. Not technically motion, but you know what I mean. The controls in which
Gesture.
you gesture. Yeah. So, anyways, we got another dungeon here, which we're going to try and make super simple. So, I could just take a look and I can turn my phone back. Screen off. Okay, so what else was Ubisoft? Raiders Republic, Rocksmith Plus, and then 2 Tom Clancy games, Rainbow Six Extraction and Rainbow Six Siege, which I thought was a game already, but it could either be DLC or a remake or of some. There's a million Tom Clancy games, and I unfortunately don't have any desire to play any of them.
Yeah. When I was in college, I was living with a roommate that I really didn't like. We didn't get along, and we were sort of in this strange, neutral kind of place where we didn't really know, like what we should be, how we should be interacting with each other, and I just felt like, doing something funny to him to kind of get back at him for something that he did to me. So he bought himself an Xbox 360. This is back like 2012. And I decided to get him a couple of games for Christmas. And the games I decided to buy him were like, they were on sale, super cheap, so it wasn't a big thing. Ninja Gaiden and Tom Clancy's something.
Yeah?
And Ninja Gaiden is known as one of the most notoriously hard games ever. And Tom Clancy's, that one Tom Clancy game was on sale, it just kind of sucked. So I heard him on the other side, and he started playing Ninja Gaiden first, and he was like really excited. He's like, "Oh my god, it's a ninja, right?" And then he gets to the first boss, and it's kind of like Dark Souls.
Oh. Okay.
So he keeps on getting murdered by this first boss, and he gets so frustrated, and he just like tosses his controller. But I planned it because I knew he would have trouble because he's just not that kind of a player that is like fast twitch reaction.
Yeah.
So I got to have the last laugh.
Nice. The only other thing that Ubisoft announced, which was the only thing I really heard about, but again, being more Nintendo biased, I guess that was, there's Mario plus Rabbids 2 coming out, Sparks of Hope, which I actually have no desire to play the first game, so I'm not really excited for the second one. The Rabbids series confuses me because it started from a minigame collection called Rayman Raving Rabbids.
Yep.
And then just kind of exploded into its own thing, and I don't really understand it. Because I don't know anybody who is like, "Oh yeah, Raving Rabbids is such a good game."
You're sitting next to one actually.
Oh really? You love
Yeah.
Raving Rabbids? Okay, never mind.
When I bought the
You're
Wii,
responsible for this.
I think it came with the Wii or something. Maybe, I don't know, but
It could have been a tech demo.
maybe. But I had it regardless.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I just thought it was cool because it was the first-person shooter with motion controls, and you shot plungers at rabbits, and it was funny as heck.
Okay, fair enough. The Mario Raving Rabbids is, I think, some sort of, I don't know if it's a tiled-based RPG, but something like that. You move the different characters around; they all have different weapons. Mario's like dual wielding in the trailer for Sparks of Hope.
Yeah, it seems interesting.
I have no idea what the story is because there's apparently rabbit versions of all the Mario characters.
Yeah.
They also had their own TV show, The Rabbids. I think just called Rabbids. It has completely forgotten about Rayman at this point. Rayman needs a new game.
Yeah,
So,
I played a few Rayman games. They're alright. Decent platformer. Challenging.
I heard. Well, I think you can get Origins on. Is it Origins? No. You can get one of Legends. You can get Rayman Legends on Switch. I heard Origins is actually really good. It's Legends isn't bad, but Origins is better, sort of thing. I think, or maybe it's the other way around. But anyways, they're both decent games if you want to check them out. Let's just look at the next. Square Enix. We have Legend of Mana.
Yes.
I think they showed off some more gameplay for that, which hopefully maybe we'll do something with that soon. Uh, Life is Strange Remastered Collection. Never played that series, but I know there was a huge cult around it. People really loved that game. It's kind of like one of those games where you just play through the story and you make choices and it changes the story.
Yeah.
But the girl has like psychic powers. Life is Strange True Colors. Marvel's Avengers, which I think is just getting more DLC. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Now that's an interesting one because the game barely ran.
On the demo?
Yeah,
Oh.
the footage they showed, they said there was like frame drops all the time. And apparently it's coming out on Switch, which people are not excited for because if it's having frame drops on a Switch release, or on a not Switch release, it's definitely going to have frame drops on a Switch release. I don't think we can do that there thing. No, we can't because that all has doors. It's so annoying. So, that's the, what else? Yep, and Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. I have no idea what that's going to be about. But it probably won't be a turn-based RPG.
I want a new Final Fantasy Tactics game.
I want a new Final Fantasy game that is turn-based. But they keep refusing to give us that. Because nobody wants turn-based games anymore, apparently. Can they just release a... Well, they're sort of doing it. Can they just release a Final Fantasy remake that's turn-based? They're doing a mobile version of that, but sort of.
You mean like turn-based combat or turn-based?
Turn-based combat, so
Yeah.
like the old style.
Yeah.
They're sort of doing a mobile version of that, but it's not going to be turn-based. They say it's going to be more based off Final Fantasy 13, where you get to choose different attacks, but it's all like an action. You know.
Yeah, I think the last Final Fantasy game I played was the first one with the pink-haired girl, Lightning.
Yes, that was 13. Yep.
Yeah.
Get over there, you. Anyways,
And I really enjoyed Final Fantasy X and X too.
I've been thinking about, because those were the last two turn-based ones that they did.
I think so, yeah.
So
Because 11 was online, right?
yes, 11 was online, and 12 was kind of like a single-player MMO almost. You ran around an open world and kind of attacked the enemies once your attack gauge charged up, and you could program your different characters to do different attacks at different intervals. It's a very interesting game style.
Yeah, that 12 was with Lightning, right? The pink-haired girl. That was the first
13.
one. Are you sure?
Yeah, 12 was they did a remaster of it called Zodiac Age. I actually have 12 on the Switch here.
Okay.
Oh, we can actually go over there. That's good. Okay, well, since this dungeon will hopefully take a little longer, actually, no, we're not quite done. Yeah, we still got Xbox. There's no Namco, which is surprising because I thought Namco was going to do something. And unfortunately, there was no PlayStation. Never showed up, which
Wow.
unfortunately doesn't look good because
I don't think I've ever heard of that before. PlayStation's always had a presence at an E3, right?
I think so. I have to fact check that, but I think so. And they're a big competitor, which unfortunately doesn't look good for them because Xbox and Switch, their two biggest competitors, had some really good shows. And after the terrible launch of the PlayStation 5, they kind of needed some representation.
So what happened with the PS5? I don't know what happened with it.
Basically, there's a chip shortage apparently. For certain chips, and they only made like 5. Well, they made more than that, but you know what I mean. They didn't make a whole lot of PlayStation 5s, so not a lot of people could actually buy them.
What? So nobody was able to buy PS5s?
Not very many people. There's a lot of they're apparently back ordered for the next 3 years.
Oh.
Yeah. So. Oh, I actually soft locked myself in this dungeon. Nice.
Oh no.
Because I can't. Oh wait, no, there's pots here. I broke them. That's what I did wrong. Okay, good. You actually can't soft lock yourself. So, yeah, PlayStation. The thing is about E3, and a lot of people don't realize, this is not. E3 is not for video game fans. Primarily, it's for investors. It's actually an investing conference that they just decided to make public so that everybody could get excited for certain things. So there's a lot of eyes watching this event, and the fact that PlayStation is not there kind of sucks for them because, you know, investors are obviously not going to want to invest in them. One benefit of the doubt, though, is that E3 was kind of slow altogether, just because with COVID and everything, companies haven't been able to make too many things in the way of, you know, progress and that.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you who haven't seen the rest of the playthrough, this boss will be completely confusing. But anyways, ouch.
Yeah, he's not doing too bad. He's maintaining space.
Will you hurry up and do your vulnerability attack? But anyways, I'll look at the thing in a second so we can continue talking. Xbox. What did Xbox have? Forza Horizon 5, which is decent. I had the first one for Xbox. Halo Infinite, that was a big one. It had 12 minutes of gameplay, so a lot of people were really excited for that, which is good because when they first announced it, not a lot of people were too excited. Halo 5 kind of shot themselves in the foot when they said no more couch co-op, which is literally the only reason people were still playing it in an oversaturated market of first-person shooters, especially online shooters. And this is Xbox and Bethesda mixed together because they own them now. So, Microsoft Flight Simulator, which I guess there's people who still love that. Psychonauts 2. I don't know if that's a remake or if that's a brand new game. Never played Psychonauts. Sea of Thieves. So there you go. Sea of Thieves probably got some sort of DLC. It's a PC game, so well, it might be on consoles too, but it's one of those games that will probably never have a sequel. To just keep adding more and more stuff to the original. The Outer Worlds 2, which is a Bethesda game, which is like Fallout. Yeah, it's like Fallout, except they said the first one was really good. It is on Switch, but I don't think the Switch port did very good, just because it didn't run the greatest, I don't think. But they said it did. The Fallout series unfortunately hasn't done very good the last couple games, but I think they said that Fallout that Outer Worlds was basically like it did all the things that Fallout should be doing with their games. Oh, I actually can. There we go. So anyways, try and not make this video too long. What else? Fallout 76. Wow, as if that dumpster fire still has a chance. 76, yeah, was one of the worst Fallout games in history. It had one of the worst backlash in history too. It just didn't run good. I don't think it still runs very good. And also they got sued, and how many lawsuits for false advertising, and they actually performed illegal actions too. So yeah, there's a lot of controversy around the game. What else? Redfall and Starfield. And Elder Scrolls Online, which is just an online Elder Scrolls game that's been around. I think I've seen since 2014. So, I don't know any about those games. Sorry, folks.
Elder Scrolls is good. Yep. I bought Oblivion Collector's Edition when I bought my first 360.
Yeah, the biggest, most well-known one is Skyrim.
Yep.
Skyrim's on Switch too.
When I bought Skyrim in college, I looked at my hours played, and I was going to college full time after 1 week. I looked at my hours played, and I played Skyrim as a full time job while going to college full time because like hey, 8 hours a day for 7 days a week. I had 56 hours. So
Wow.
it was pretty crazy. I loved Skyrim.
I knew a guy in college that played it like a lot too, and it wasn't even his copy of it or his PlayStation 3. But he played like it for weeks, and then he ended up going down the storyline where you get turned into a vampire.
Yeah.
And he got so upset he restarted the game.
Oh.
And it's like, why would you do that at that point? Like,
Yeah.
you've just been playing it for hours.
Yep.
Like, he just really didn't want to be a vampire.
You can get cured
Probably.
in that game from vampirism. Yeah.
Probably. I can't see them soft locking you into being a vampire. The best thing about Skyrim is the Thomas the Tank Engine mod.
Yeah.
Where it turns all the dragons into Thomas the Tank Engine.
Wow.
The opening intro of the game where you hear the dragon, they're like, "What's that?" They replace it with like Thomas Tank Engine whistle. And then just this train comes out of the sky and just starts breathing fire. It's amazing, the mods in that game. And the memes. Took an arrow to the knee. But anyways, I think we got Capcom, Gearbox, Xbox, Square, Ubisoft. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, turn off the video now if you don't want to hear us gush about Nintendo. Yes, Nintendo. Nintendo had a huge list. It has the biggest list here that I have so far, which is amazing. So, we'll just get the things that we already knew about out of the way. So, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity is getting DLC, which, as much as I love the original Hyrule Warriors, I don't have any desire to play Age of Calamity, because from what I heard, you don't really have to play it to know anything about Breath of the Wild.
Mm.
And it's not like Hyrule Warriors in playstyle, so I just haven't had any desire to watch it, or to play it. Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword is getting an HD release on the Switch, which I am excited for. Mario Golf Super Rush, they showed some more footage for that. Looks interesting. What else? They showed some footage for Breath of the Wild 2, whatever it's going to be called. We're still not sure. So, and then Cruisin' Blast, which I have no idea what that is. But for some of the bigger announcements, they started off with Super Smash Brothers Ultimate is getting their next DLC, which is
Kazuya Mishima!
Yes.
Yeah, can't wait. I love Tekken.
Yes. He, for those of you like me who don't know who that is, he is a Tekken guy. And for Tekken players, it was a big deal. Do you mind just explaining who he is?
Yep. So Tekken, I think, is still on its 7th edition, plus several ones that don't have numbers, like Tekken Tag Tournament. So Tekken 7 is the latest one. In the original story, you've got Kazuya and Heihachi. Heihachi is Kazuya's dad. They don't like each other, and Heihachi and Kazuya get into a fight, and Heihachi throws Kazuya over a cliff. Kazuya's got some kind of a devil gene in him from a curse, and he comes back as a devil. And yeah, it's a really kind of a funny, crazy story. I don't know the entire canon story up till now, but that's basically from Tekken 1 how the story goes. Yeah.
So one question I had is, for someone who has played Tekken, is their choice of a representative in Smash a good choice, do you think? Would it have been the choice you would have went with?
Oh, well, my favorite character in Tekken is King, so I would have wanted him to be in it. But I think since Kazuya was an original character, one of the original characters, and definitely essential to the storyline, then yeah, I think it's okay.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Because, you know, seeing how this will probably be the only representative for Ultimate anyways, you know, whenever they include a new series, you know, it's always interesting to see if they're going to be the one character that you hope is in, right?
Mm-hmm.
One odd example was obviously when they did ARMS having Min Min, because Min Min, I knew a little bit about ARMS and I had no idea who Min Min was. Apparently, though, the creator of ARMS wanted Min Min in, so it was a favorite of his. A lot of people figured it would have been Spring Man, but apparently there's already a manga character called Spring Man, so Sakura didn't want to have any confusion.
Mm-hmm. And Spring Man's already an assist trophy.
But apparently he can have Joker and Robin, and that doesn't make confusion.
Yeah, true enough.
But anyways, what else? Advance Wars. That was a huge announcement. They're doing a remake of Advance Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Never played those games, but I heard there's a lot of people who love those games.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. It's kind of like Fire Emblem, but with like tanks and airplanes and, you know, things like that. Yeah, it's kind of neat.
Then what else? Oh yeah, the Mario Party. What's it called? Mario Party Superstars. That was a huge announcement. I was watching a stream of people who love Nintendo games, and they were very excited because people have been wanting a good Mario Party for a while. I think the last good one the last really good one was the one on GameCube.
Mm-hmm.
And people, for those of you who don't know, Superstars is supposed to be a compilation of like the first like 5 or so games, all the mini games, and then all the different boards.
Mm-hmm.
Which Mario Party is like a you know video. It's like a board game video game.
Yeah. So
you pick different Mario characters and then you
get placed on a themed kind of board like Iceland or a birthday cake or.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you have to roll a dice and you go on different spots and then you play different mini games to get advantage. And the whole point is to get golden stars because at the end of it, whoever has the most stars wins.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can get stars based off your performance in the game too. So, but
when I had my N64 way back in the day, there was certain Mario Party I said minio games.
Nice.
Mini games that had to have you rotate the control stick really, really fast. And I got major blisters from doing that.
Oh, really?
Oh,
I thought you were going to say you broke your control. I know the one for 64. Which one did you say it was?
64.
64, yeah, that one broke a lot of people's controllers. Because the 64 controller, well, especially the analog stick, was not made the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I think I finally made this heart-shaped dungeon. Whew. But what else do we have here? Oh, WarriorWare? New WarriorWare game coming out?
That looks kind of cool.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of the WarriorWare games, but I know a lot of people, again, are excited for it.
Yeah, because now you're getting some of the Wario World other characters like Ashley and some of the other characters. Maybe
Yep.
Mike from the Go Mike Mike song. Go, 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 Mike, go.
Is that the disco guy?
Yeah. My name is Mike, and tonight we're gonna karaoke. Do 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 do.
All I know is Ashley because of that one song. Ashley, who's that little girl? Or something like that.
Yeah, she's a witch.
I don't know how the series has anything to do with Wario, because if you know about his origin, none of his characters really have anything to do with his origin.
Yeah, Wario just kind of like showed up
Yep.
in Super
He
Mario
was
Land
created
2.
to be actually a comic relief version of Mario. That's why he's kind of fat and looks like a little gremlin. But But WarioWare is basically a mini game collection, right?
I think so, yeah. It's just little mini games at 3 levels, and they get harder as you progress. Like picking somebody's nose and
Yeah.
yeah, that
You have
kind
to
of
do different actions.
thing. So what's next on the list?
What's next on the list? Next one is, I think, the biggest announcement that Nintendo had, and the biggest announcement as far as I'm concerned at E3. Metroid Dread. Metroid Dread, ladies and gentlemen.
Looks really cool.
Yes, Metroid. Metroid. Now, my friend AJ described it as a hipster game. I wouldn't say it's a hipster game. It is very popular, just in North America.
I don't even know what a hipster means.
Hipster is liking something just to say that you like it. So kind of like it was a style of clothes that was very you could say unorthodox.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, oh, I like this just because I like it. And sometimes it was liking something that nobody else liked too, just to say that you liked it. But unfortunately, with the hipster style, it kind of destroyed itself, because once it became popular, it was no longer hipster to be hipster. But yes, Metroid isn't very big in Japan, just because
despite it's being made by a Japanese company, right?
Yep, and the main thing with that is just because it's a shooter game, and shooter games don't do very good in Japan. Yeah, Metroid has a long history of a love-hate relationship with its maker, because it wasn't doing very good at one point, so he decided to hand it off to a North American game studio to do something with it, because it's like, hey, your continent loves this game so much, why don't you do something with it? And they made one of the greatest Metroid games ever, called Metroid Prime.
Mm-hmm.
And Metroid Prime is Metroid's best-selling game. Well, I think all 3 Metroid Prime 1, 2, and 3 are the best-sellings in the series. And the maker actually hated that, to the point where he made those 3 games no longer canon. And he also made his own game in retaliation to say, like, I can make a better game than you, which was Metroid Other M.
Mm-hmm.
Metroid Other M sucks. It's not a very good game. It's a third-person shooter, which is not a bad idea, but it just wasn't very good, because it was on the Wii U, and it had you switching between the TV screen and the screen on the gamepad, and it was very clunky and cumbersome, because Nintendo loves to push through gimmicks.
Well, this guy's a professional.
There we go. Sword can't beat my sword can beat his fist any day. But anyways,
yeah, that's because like dread is like another word for like terror.
Yes.
Horror. And so when Samus is being chased by a robot that she can't kill, it's like you gotta run away.
Yeah, so it looks like the
Survival
whole gimmick of this game is that in each section, so Metroid is what you would describe as a Metroidvania, which is another reason why I would say the series is very popular, because there's an entire genre of game named after it, Metroidvanias, which is basically a 2D platforming open world game where the whole point is you want to explore the world. Now, at the beginning of the game, it's going to be very linear, but as you unlock more and more upgrades, and all the upgrades have to do with gaining more and more mobility. Once you gain more and more mobility, you go back to those old places that you visited earlier in the game, and there's more options, and it rewards you by giving you upgrades for, missiles and stuff like that. Hollow Knight is a Metroidvania, and a very popular one at that. So, if it wasn't for Metroid, Hollow Knight wouldn't have gained its popularity. It's called Metroidvania because I think it gains the name also from Castlevania,
yeah.
which has, some of the games have a very similar style.
Yep. 2D platforming.
Yeah.
Just Metroid space shooter, Castlevania vampires.
Yes.
And undead and whatever.
Metroid games are also split into areas, so there's usually about 5 or 6 areas to every Metroid game that can sometimes have their own gimmicks. Like in Metroid Prime, there was a lava area, and you couldn't go to it until you unlocked the Varia suit, which gave you heat invulnerability. Not lava invulnerability, but just the heat. This game, the gimmick is that in every area there's supposed to be some sort of unkillable robot that is constantly hunting you down. So you have to be stealthy, and you can't be crazy with making noise. Apparently, different actions will cause different noises and attract the robot. And the amazing thing about being on the Switch, which, has, the most beefy hardware for any Nintendo game, the robots are going to be constantly moving, so the game constantly tracks the robot's actions. So it's not like other games where, like, you can leave the room and then come back, and all of a sudden, the robot's gone. It's reset.
Yeah, it doesn't spawn in the same place if you leave and come back.
Yeah,
it's always like...
it's going to be like the remake of Resident Evil 3 and 2, where, like, Nemesis and Mr. X are constantly chasing you.
Yeah.
And you have to be constantly aware of where they are at all times.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Oops. So anyways, well, I guess I didn't have to do that. Oh yeah, I think that's the boss key, which we don't have. Oh, now we have to fight these guys. Yeah, the other thing about Metroid Dread that makes it so amazing is that this is the first, not the first Metroid game, but the first, continuation of the story in 19 years. The last game that was actually part of the story, I don't know why it didn't do anything. The last actual canonical Metroid game was Metroid Fusion for the Game Boy Advance, which is a very good game in its own right. Oh, that was
Is your mirror shield not working?
I guess it doesn't work on these guys. What else can we say about Metroid Dread we haven't already? Oh yeah, the terrifying. So it's going to be terrifying, which is terrifying, because Metroid Fusion was also terrifying. Metroid Fusion had a gimmick where part of the story was that your armor had basically mutated and become its own entity. And you had a kind of Metroid spliced armor that had Metroid DNA in it, which meant that you, just like Metroid, you had a weakness to cold. And your suit had the ice beam because, it picked it up from the last game. When you're exploring this abandoned, I shouldn't say abandoned, but a space station where everybody was killed inside, part of the story was that you would end up in areas where your suit was just walking around. And there's actually one part of the game where you're forced to come to it face to face, and it shows, a cutscene, which is basically just a still image on the Game Boy Advance of, you can see Samus's face inside the suit, but it has like no eyes. And it was really creepy as a small child. And terrified a lot of people. So that game in itself was terrifying. Like, it was very, very terrifying. Because if you accidentally ran into evil Samus, it would freeze you and kill you almost instantly.
Oh,
there was no chance. The final boss was the suit, because you finally gained invulnerability to ice. Well, or at least more it wasn't a weakness anymore. But Dread just looks like it's going to be that times 10. I watched the E3 thing too, where he was explaining where the maker, they've been wanting to do this concept apparently for years, and they had just been waiting for hardware that would have been able to handle it. It's a 2D, so that's interesting. Being on the Switch, they didn't decide to go for like 3D or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. They could probably do a lot more with it if it's 2D.
Yeah, and it's more classic. I guess they're going to keep 3D more for the Prime series, which people are still waiting for a Prime 4. But a Dread is, Metroid Dread is still just as nice. Also, it'll be interesting to see how she gets this new suit, because the last suit she was wearing was the Metroid suit, which, from what it sounded like, she couldn't take it off. So, but this new suit, kind of, it's blue like the last one. So, it'll be interesting to see what they did to the suit to get it this way. The interesting thing is, too, is that, did I get everything? Oh, I didn't get everything. The interesting thing, too, is that, thank you. This apparently is going to be what he says the last game of the Metroid arc. So I don't know if that means it's going to be the last Metroid game, or at least the last canonical, in succession Metroid game, or if they're going to do a whole new story afterwards, which is interesting because Metroid is about Metroids. So if they're not going to have Metroids anymore,
what are they going to call it?
What are they going to call it? What are they going to do? So anyways, we're at the end, and
we get to fight the cheeseburger.
Yep, and that's E3. So, now we're going to declare the winner of E3 2021. It is, drumroll please, it's Nintendo. Who would have guessed? The votes are in. It's unanimously a Nintendo. Good night, everybody. Thanks for coming out. But anyways, that's the end of that, and we're not going to do any more of that. And actually, we're also out of time, so that took a little longer than expected, but that's okay.
There were times I'd swear you had one foot in the grave.
Yep.
That's what he said.
Probably did. Oh, and we get a heart piece. What do you know? All that work for a heart piece, and this is why I don't like this game mode. So anyways, for those of you who are watching this on my channel, there's going to be no more videos after this. For those of you who are watching this on the other channel,
the final boss.
Well, you're going to be greeted with
next time.
With I got to finish the Sonic Adventure 1 playthrough, but then eventually you're going to be greeted with Link's Awakening Part 6, which will be our past selves. So say hi to them for us, and don't tell them the future. And eventually you'll get to the point where we are now. And as far as recording, we're going to record the final boss, which I look really forward to, because this game has a great ending. So we'll see you all next time.
See you next time.